Hi everyone, Vote Tano here. Vote, 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 vote. And it's time for a review of the new Rosalía album, El Mal Querer. This is the newest full-length album from Spanish flamenco singer Rosalía, who blew my mind totally out of nowhere last year with a gorgeous and dynamic set of folk songs on her album Los Angeles. And in the short span of time since the release of that record, Rosalía has undergone a pretty large and significant artistic evolution, because she's gone straight from recording these Spanish and gypsy folk tunes to turning the world of flamenco into a pop sensation. Both being decades old, flamenco pop and flamenco nuevo are nothing entirely new, but Rosalía's incredible talent is certainly making it feel like they are, as she stirred international interest in this music in a way that few artists have, with some pretty great singles leading up to the release of this album, namely tracks like Malamente, as well as Pienso en tu mira. Both songs mix Rosalía's incredible old world voice and flamenco hand claps with sensual pop production, synthetic beats and bass, really strong hooks. The third single on this thing, Di Mi Nombre, actually features a shot of auto-tune on the refrain, just to add a bit of a vocal variant, I guess. And it actually fits in really well with the song's building synths and background vocals and persistent hand claps. Rarely do these new and old worlds of music come together in a song so well, at least not without dumbing the production down to the point where it's obvious that you're trying to make it appeal to like the widest audience possible, the same audience of people that would immediately buy a Taylor Swift record. I think we can attribute Rosalía's musical transition on this album, at least in part, to her bringing on fellow Spanish musician and producer El Guincho, who has dropped several solo albums over the past decade or so, dabbling mostly in neo-psychedelia, psychedelic folk, psychedelic pop. And even though that's obviously not Rosalía's wheelhouse, that's not the kind of music she even seems remotely interested in making on this album, he plays a very positive, forward-thinking, and an incredibly supportive role on this record. A lot of the instrumentals on this thing feel as if they're assembled like any other piece of modern pop or even hip-hop. And there are maybe a few spots on this record where that does feel a bit limited, like on the track Que no salga la luna, where Rosalía's wild vibrato and just boundaryless voice, her incredible singing on this song, it's just so expressive and it's just so, like, free and just, it just makes me burn! Like, this is so far from a typical pop vocal, and just sort of throwing it on top of a quantized track doesn't really make all that much sense to me. I would have much rather some more organic instrumentation or just a straight guitar like on her last record. Because in my opinion, the subterranean kicks and the nylon guitar loops and samples that are played throughout this track, even when a low-pass filter is thrown on top of them, doesn't really cut it. Even if there are some elements of this track, namely the background vocals, that I think are a really nice touch. Meanwhile, there are moments on this record where the additional instrumentation, the more modern production style, feels inventive and even freeing, allowing Rosalía to embark on some new sounds, ideas, and flavors. There are even moments on this thing where there's a Justin Timberlake sample worked in, an Arthur Russell sample worked in. Or on the track De Aquí No Sales, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, where the track kicks off with all of these siren sounds, revving engine samples, cars just driving or starting. It's like Rosalía is the Charli XCX of forward-thinking flamenco pop. Eventually the track progresses into this straightforward beat and these chopped and pitched up vocal samples, kind of playing out this fractured melody against some subterranean bass. On the next song, Rosalía throws it back a little bit, where she is singing this beautiful traditional flamenco melody over this gorgeous, thick, full-bodied string section. The way she plays against this classical style arrangement is powerful. Not only is it a great song, a great moment on this album, but it also serves as a reminder that there are very few artists out there in the pop field currently that could match Rosalía's range, volume, power, sense of drama. And when you're talking about songs and vocals of this quality, the language barrier that most people watching this video are obviously going to hit when they give this thing a listen, because I don't speak Spanish, many of you don't either. Yeah, that language barrier, it's pretty much irrelevant, because the production on this thing It's beautiful. The vocals are beautiful. Meanwhile, on the song Baghdad, we have a very refreshing and intriguing mix of several things. Sure, those elements of folk and flamenco music do pop up, but also there are some vocal licks at the start of the track that read like something out of an alternative R&B tune. Meanwhile, there's a vocal buildup in the last leg that comes off like a church hymnal. The song is truly worthy of having the song Liturgia, liturgy, at the back end of its title. If you notice, every song on this record does have a bit of a title in parentheses after it, sort of mentioning what exactly the emotion or the vibe or the direction a certain song is going in, or sort of what part of, I guess, an emotional ongoing story that a track might play in the whole of this album, which I thought was kind of an interesting way of parsing all of these songs out, even if overall, stylistically, it does seem like a bit of a jumble, a bit of a mixed bag. However, I do appreciate the versatility and that much of what her and Guincho embark on this record is done really well. The song Nana is a very stripped down vocal piece with these subtle pitched background vocals and chorus effects sort of placed into the background, which creates this very beautiful but surreal and alien-ish sound. It's kind of James Blake-esque. The song is pretty moving in its intimacy and its relative nudity. Rosalia kind of goes for a similar effect and sound on the closing track of this thing as well, but the pitched background vocals there that sing in unison with her lead vocal, are much louder, stranger, more overbearing. It does have a uniquely haunting and nightmarish quality, but I'm not really that crazy about it as a song, or even as the closer. So while I do have some complaints and critiques of this record, and I think overall the consistency and flow could have used a bit more work, it is a little scant at 11 tracks and just 30 minutes. Still, the vast majority of songs on this thing are great. They're fantastic, they're gorgeous, and Rosalia has made a very fast and impressive transition into taking these folk sounds and styles and just making them work really well in a pop context. I guess if you're in the market for some fantastic vocals for an album that is just very bold, versatile Spanish pop with some strong folk roots, give this thing a shot. What do you got to lose? It's a great record. I'm feeling a decent 2 strong 8 on this thing. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Rosalia, forever.